Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Hey, listen, do you guys want to feel good about yourselves? Do you want to feel good about yourself?
Yes, please.
Good. Well, if you volunteer, it actually just makes you feel so good about yourself. Like, I've done volunteer work over the course of my life, and it's amazing, like, when you're of service to other people. Now, just this week, the organisation Habitat for Humanity reached out to me. They're building shelter for people who've been, who are disadvantaged, minority groups, but primarily at the moment for people who've lost all their houses since the bushfires. Mm-hmm. Now, you guys might not know this, but, like, there's still thousands of people living in tents, temporary housing. So Habitat for Humanity are going around and giving them shelter that's much more livable and workable, because a lot of these people were living on farms and rural areas, and that's their livelihood. So if you want to get involved, if you're listening, go to the Habitat for Humanity website and volunteer and be of service to your community if you're in Australia. Primarily, if you're in the Southern Highlands region or the east coast of New South Wales, there's still vast amount of help that's needed in the Blue Mountains and the Southern Highlands. So get on it. They're really crying out for volunteers. It's ongoing work. I've done a day's work with them, and it was one of the most satisfying things that I've ever done. And the family that we helped were just in tears. And we got an old cabin that was used at a caravan park that Habitat bought with funds that were donated, and we basically had it craned into the property, and then we just basically built the footings, and we put the drain pipes on and painted the inside, and there's plenty of work to be done, so get involved.
Good work.
Yep. And also, lastly is, as always, I say every week, support the sponsors of the podcast, Crush Organics, CBD oils and topicals, Kingpin Skate Shop and Indo-Style Footwear. All of those companies have a promotional code on their websites, and that promo code is THT, and you'll get a discount when you use the code, and primarily helping me as well. But they're also just rad companies doing good things and trying to change the game a little bit. So thank you. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks.
Yeah. Good to be here, man.
Whoa.
Dude, I'm submissive donut lifestyle.
3, 2, 1. Alright, do this. Do you like the drums in that, Warren?
Yes.
Yeah. My friend in Bali recorded that for me, so I'm so stoked on every time I hear it. I don't know about my voice in it. But anyway, so today's guest is Warren Keelan. Warren is a multi-award-winning seascape and ocean photographer, husband, and all-round nice guy. Aside from being an obvious ocean lover, he's a bodyboarder, skateboarding enthusiast. Warren is a deeply passionate musician at his core, and it's made up a lot of his story. So today Warren is with me live and on location in his gallery to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mr. Warren Keelan, welcome.
Legend, thank you.
Dude,
thanks for having me.
Man, thanks for being here. And as always, big shout out to this week's co-host, Slappy winner. Just won a Slappy competition, won a free skateboard for doing the best Slappy. Okay, go and check it out. Filmer, and gets so embarrassed. Photographer, and I'm going to say friend. Is that okay?
Yeah, we're friends.
Is that okay?
Maybe if you stop mentioning slappies, we'd be better friends.
Why? You taught me a life.
It's my little secret thing.
But you taught me a life skill. You taught me how to slappy on a curb properly without ollieing.
Yeah.
And so, I'll never forget that. So thank you.
I'm glad I could help.
Change my life.
Thank you.
So that just means that you're going to win the next one?
Yes.
Man, dude, I'm trying, but every time I go, Ryan's already learnt something new. He's progressed. He's on the forefront of progression.
You mean there's no one filming when you're doing it?
No. Usually no.
There's no way.
No more slappy clips from any. I'm sorry, everyone.
Dude, you found your niche. But anyway. Hey, listen, man. Tell me about you. How was your day today?
Oh, it isn't too bad. No, I was pretty motivated this morning. Got out, went for a walk and jumped in the ocean. And it's the first time I've been in the water for about 2 months.
2 months.
2 months. Yeah.
You mentioned that earlier. Like, do you mind sharing why? Like,
No, not at all.
I mean, it's without sounding cliche. It's like, oh well, you're an ocean photographer. You need to be in the ocean every day of your life. So, what stops you from being in the ocean?
So, having this store every year, like it's a retail store, and I don't have any staff other than myself and the help from my wife. So, during the December period, it's kind of just ramp up, put all my effort into running a shop.
Yeah.
It's like 7 days a week, and then when I get home, it's just more work. And I just spend less time in the ocean. But prior to that, I also I was doing some renovations as well. So I'm kind of living the renovation home reno guy / trying to do my work. And the thing that took a hit was where I love to be every day.
Yeah.
And just other things too. That sort of compounds into the less time I spend in the ocean, the higher my anxiety gets, and that's the result of that. So, but today I made a decision to reverse that, and jumped in the water. I was doing laps and things prior to last year. Swimming and exercising, and I haven't done it for a while.
It's funny you mentioned lap swimming. Like, what does lap swimming do for you, aside from the physical aspect? What does it do for your mind?
I struggled the first time I ever did it. I did it I had a reason to do it, was to get my bronze surf certificate.
Yeah.
And that's pretty hard to do when I'm in my 40s now. So,
Yeah.
So you did it recently?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, let's say at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, that's recently.
So to become part of the surf club, I wanted to participate and volunteer. I had to get this certificate, and I didn't realise how much it was going to hurt me. So it's literally you have to do was it 400 meters in under 8 minutes, and then you have to do a run, swim, run, and all that. And I took it upon myself to do that, because I also teach ocean photography, and I kind of wanted that confidence to know that I had the capability of helping somebody if they were in any danger, and get out of trouble myself. But I jumped in the water and I said to myself, let's go, 10 laps. It looks easy. I did 2 laps and I got out and I spewed. And I thought, what is going on? Because...
Are you pushing yourself hard or what?
I just didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
I've lost the ability to swim, and there's an art to it. It's not just getting in the water and just making noise to get to the other end. It's literally there are things you can do to control your breathing and your mind and conserve energy and oxygen, and it's crazy. So by probably about 2 months into it, I got to about 20 laps, and I was kind of doing that comfortably. But it was the mind-numbing boringness of just staring at a black line, and that was the hardest thing to overcome. But I did it, and I lost weight and I become fitter, and less impact on your body too.
Yeah.
But the COVID thing happened, and I just they closed the pools, and I wasn't, just like everybody else, was just stuck in a cloud of being unmotivated. And, so.
Does it serve as a meditation for you, though, as well?
I guess it was, because I was serving a purpose, and it was a goal to achieve this certificate. And I had to prove to myself that I could do it, and I really wanted to do this, whether I used it or not, or continued becoming a surf club member or whatever, but I just wanted it so badly that I just put all this effort in. I just live up the road from the pool, and I shoot out there every day. But I see all these people jump in, and they just, some people get in there and do 2, 3, 4, 5 Ks. That's a lot of laps, man. That's yeah. Yeah,
I never understood that. I mean, I can swim 20 laps, which is about 1 kilometre, but I get to 20 and I just, no matter how fit I am, I just really can't keep going. I don't know. I just don't have that endurance.
Do you know what someone said? Once you get past the 10 laps, that your body will just do it without even kind of feeling it, and you just go. You breathe better. You seem to be just pushing water, and I didn't realise that was going to happen until it actually happened, and I kind of lost count on the laps I was doing. So
I wonder if it's because your body's clicking into the second energy system, or it's going into the aerobic system, but maybe it's clicking right into the aerobic system as opposed to the anaerobic system or something. So you get that second wind. And
what I found was the load on my shoulders, the blood flow had already happened. I'd warmed up, and going through the process of the strokes, it wasn't like I was working hard, and I was like, by the end of I was breathing hard. But then once you push through that, I think that's when you start realizing that you can do it, and also too, it's just that line, looking at that black line, and you become comfortable with it after a while, and you start thinking about things. You're just lost with your own thoughts.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that because that's something that happens to me when I swim. There's times I didn't like, because you're really alone with your thoughts. There's times I didn't like it. I was like, no, I can't do it because it's all of a sudden things that I don't really want to be confronting or thinking about come to the forefront. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. And I'd get these feelings of like, I'm just looking at the black line underwater, or you can hear his water in your ears and whatever. And I didn't like it, man. Do you ever have that?
Oh, it's confronting. If you're forced to have your own time and think of nothing but, I guess, your own thoughts, you don't have any outside influence, or, you're sort of desensitized to it. But I can say one thing is, go in the water with a good song in your head. Because if you get in the water to do laps and you've got some song that you've been humming away and you hate it, it seems to stay with you. But it's
that's funny. What do you regard as a good song? What music are you into?
You know what? There's kind of I love every type of music, everything. But when I'm getting in the water, I kind of like one that's kind of uplifting, because that way I get in there with, it has to be. I'm grinding my teeth. That's one of the things I do. I don't hum, I grind my teeth.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the water, I do the same thing. So, it has to be something that can push you along. I listen to a lot of Tool, Deftones, Porcupine Tree.
I was going to ask you, so
Floyd, all that sort of stuff.
More in the metal realm?
Yeah, the heavier stuff, the more progressive, the progressive rock metal.
Interesting. You said a little bit earlier, you said that you've had a lot going on and that's contributed to maybe a little bit of added anxiety. I mean, if you don't mind, if I go down that rabbit hole a little bit, do you find it's when life is filling up your cup too much is when the anxiety spills over? Is that a commonality for you?
It is. I guess I'm comfortable with that now and sharing that. I think everyone to some degree has some shit going on, and I think that for me, it's I just harbour a lot, and I stress about things too much. And what I do is when you have anxiety, you just stress about things that aren't going to happen, or you perceive they could happen, and you use a lot of energy trying to process how you're going to get through those situations, if or not they even happen. So that's kind of for me. I'm recognising them now, and also to. Coming into those periods, for me, it's the end of the year, or it's trying to find motivation, outside things. There's all sorts of things that that can affect you and your anxiety. But I think it's just recognising and pushing through them, and just trying to, it's like exercise. That's the biggest thing for me.
As in terms of assisting you, yeah, I get it. And I'm saying, like, I have to be exercising, have to be moving every day, But I don't know. I was just thinking about how, like, I'll openly say that, I've struggled with varying degrees of anxiety in my life. It's actually like one of my most underlying issues that I've had to manage. Not so much depression, but it's very similar to you. Like, I stress about things. I want to make sure everything's right. And I found myself constantly living in the future, like, because I'm like planning, predicting, surviving. My primal brain was going into this survival mode. Now, I went camping the other day with my kids and we had no phone reception. And I have this habit of going to sleep with headphones in, and I listen to podcasts, because I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love it. And I also feel like it helps me refine what I'm doing here. And I couldn't get any reception, but I had this old audio book on my phone from years ago, and it was Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. Now, at the time when it came out, it was a really profound book, very popular, and I drifted away from the concepts of it. But if you're out there and having anxiety, like, maybe give it a re-listen or a reread, because I just listened to it and I was like, oh my God, like, this is just exactly what I need. And I've been practicing it and I just feel amazing. So just thought I'd
share that with us, for sure.
Yeah, have you heard of it?
I have not.
I haven't. Power of Now. Yeah, have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have.
Do you know what the concepts are?
It's been a long time since I've had a lot of friends get involved with it and stuff, so not.
Yeah, it's just basically this concept of, like, life happens right now. It doesn't happen in the future, it doesn't happen in the past. And he has this technique called watching the thinker, and that means, Like, it's basically saying you are not your mind, you are some kind of other entity, and you stop and observe what your thoughts are doing. And then if you actually if you stop and go, well, what's my mind doing right now? It's like, oh, it's in the future, oh, it's in the past, it's thinking about a past situation, and your mind is constantly going past, future, past, future, past. But for some reason, when you stop and expose your thoughts and go and be conscious of, like, oh, hang on, my mind went to the future again, it just like it stops and it brings you back into the present. I don't know how it works. It's bizarre. So I don't know. Check it out.
Keeps it in check. Yeah.
Keeps you in check, man. So anyway, sorry, a bit of a tangent there, but anyway. So listen, man, I want to get some of the basics out of the way. So straight up, we're in your beautiful gallery. Like, tell us how you got into doing ocean photography. Like, a real basic sort of question, but I'm sure you've answered it 1,000 times.
Yeah,
but how to start?
There's a lot of roads that sort of come to the one that I'm on now to get to it. And I guess it's all based on just being creative and having an expressive outlet or creative outlet, being expressive. Prior to that, I was a web designer and musician. And I dabbled in a bit of photojournalism as well for fishing and travel magazines. That's right. So let's say 2010, I bought my first digital camera. And at the time, I had the opportunity to take photos, learn the camera, and present stories for publication in magazines. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just having a dig. And it just, for some reason, I just worked out, and I had an idea of what I wanted. And 3 or 4 years later, I had some things published and continued on. And during that time, though, I bought a water housing. So the first year into my foray into photography, I bought a water housing, and my past was surfing, diving, lived by the ocean, lived in the ocean. And I thought, how can I take what I was doing? Like, I really love landscape photography, standing there at a waterfall, long exposures and all those kind of things. And I thought, I loved it. That photography was great at the time, but I found I just needed a bit more of a challenge. So the water housing allowed me to get in the ocean. I think what I wanted to do was take those landscapes, but from in the water. And that's how I evolved into ocean photography. And then the love of animals and having that, I guess, that key to unlock. So the ocean was just the vast canvas of, living creatures and water and light. So it's 9 years now I've been in the shop here. And that's where I am today, sitting here chatting to you. And
it's the best. And so you grew up on the southeast coast of Australia in the Illawarra area. How would you describe your childhood in this area? So
I was born here,
right?
Up until the age of about 5, and we moved to Western Australia. So I was really happy to grow up in the other side of the world for me, because most of my relatives lived here, and we felt like we just drove for 3 days and started a new life on the other side of the world, But my parents were park rangers at the time, so wildlife and caves and taking people on tours and saving people's lives and things like that on the coast. And we lived in a place called Yanchep, which is just north of Perth, and then we moved down to Albany. That's the most rugged, beautiful, just an incredible coastline. For photography anyway, I wasn't even looking at it as a kid for that, but man, I've been back a couple of times now, and it's just everything that I've learnt and found to appreciate comes from my childhood living on the coast. Yeah. So I had a really great upbringing. My backyard was a national park. We didn't have pets. We had kangaroos, and we reared injured kangaroos. Someone would hit a car, like if they're driving a car and they unfortunately hit a mother. Those people, they'd bring the little Joey, knock on the door and say, "What do we do here?" And we just took them in and reared them, those kind of things. So pretty crazy. Yeah. But we left in the morning after brekkie, got on our bikes and just went into the bush. Yeah. And we didn't come back until we were hungry or injured or the sun went down. So
there's no street lights. Oh, so you can't come home when the street lights are on, so it's when the sun went down.
No, we were probably 15, 20 k's out of town, so to speak, out of Albany.
Amazing. Is it Cape Naturalista down that way, or Point Naturalista? Oh. Is that near Albany? No, that may be further down near Margaret River. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Did you get down to Margaret River and places like that much?
I did, not as a kid. We went to Bunbury and Walpole, Pemberton,
Yep.
Some beautiful places like the giant Valley of the Giants. It's got these huge marrying carry trees. Went around to Bustleton, up to Perth.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, no. The only time I've gone back to Margaret River, I took my wife there, and we visited some wineries and things, and can't wait to get back if the gates open.
Nice, dude.
Can I ask? Did your parents were rangers already on the East Coast, and then decided to go?
No,
west?
they just went to, I guess, start a new life.
Right.
Went over there, and they did some other work. Like they found some jobs to do, and we lived on a farm at one stage, and there was an opportunity to start with conservation land management. It was just, I think it was called that back in the day.
Yep.
And yeah, they took them on, did the course, and now if you want to become a park ranger, so to speak, you have to have degrees and environmental science and all sorts of things, and the list to get in is miles long. So
Competitive.
super competitive.
Really? I didn't realise. Because Kane's a park ranger.
Yeah, and
isn't
it was competitive for him to get in as well.
Was it?
He had a lot of experience in bush regen,
he? Gotcha.
and then eventually got into it. But yeah, it's tough. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to get into.
I guess it would be super popular. I guess.
I don't think it's for everyone though. Like it's you kind of isolate where we were. We had a water tank, and we, like I said, we were out of town. If it didn't rain, you had to buy water, or we had veggie gardens and things. But we kind of relied on our own company for our own safety and things like that. So you appreciate being away from kind of civilization for a bit, and you did have a lot of tourists and that through. So. That was pretty cool. We had a whaling station, the last whaling station, I guess, operational on the east coast of Australia, down in Albany, in Frenchman Bay. And I've been back a couple of times, and they turned it into a museum. It's awesome.
The whaling
So
station.
a whaling station,
What
yeah.
was that for? Like to monitor whales or not catch whales and bring them in?
Catch whales.
Catch whales, yeah. It was literally they go out with harpoons,
Harpoon them.
harpoon them, and bring them back on the boats and cut them up for their oil and blubber and the bones. I don't know what they did with the rest of it, but that was basically a functioning thing for oil.
Like it was right for oil.
Whale oil, yeah.
Oh man, am I clueless or what? I've never really. I didn't
You
know.
can go to Eden, and it has a museum on this as well.
Eden Menard on the south coast.
On the
Yeah,
south
there's
coast,
a great museum down
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had killer whales involved to herd in the whales.
What?
Yeah, it's
Well,
a wild story.
they utilize killer whales.
Yes.
Have you heard of that before?
I have not, no. That's
So
pretty
what?
cool.
And they'd herd them.
Actually, there's a book about it or something,
Yes.
isn't it? It's in a book.
Yeah, it's a wild story, but yeah, you go to their museum and they have a particular killer whale, like the skeleton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a working relationship. They're smart animals. Yeah, it's wild, and there was.
Like train them.
Yeah,
I guess they can be
they
trained.
knew that it was the time of year where whales are coming in, and they would get something in return.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, if they
The greatest hunters. They're the biggest.
Incredible.
They're the best apex predator.
Yeah, and they entice them with food and stuff like that.
yeah, well, they got part of the whale.
No way, dude. I know.
Oh, yeah, because they eat whales,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man. Like, killer whales eat whales.
So whaling's a pretty
Am I stupid?
horrible subject, but it's
Yeah,
part of our history.
Yeah,
It's part of the world's history.
We just got into that.
But it's
I gotta know. I'm so curious. Sorry.
But anyone's listening, it's in the past now, and
Yeah.
they've turned it into a museum, and it's something you can appreciate because it's part of our heritage and our past. So
And I'm sure both places that we're talking about, I know for Eden, it's a place you go watching whales these days. So it's switched around to like tourism and knowledge about migration of whales. You know, it's switched around.
Has
But
it?
it just happened to be in places where there was whaling.
Interesting. Yeah, so what, you'd be like in that area hanging out at places like that? Like, do you feel like it nurtured? Is that when like a conservationist was being born?
Yep.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Is it too obvious or too cliche?
Well, we used to build I think it was one of the first koala compounds for koalas with conjunctivitis and other diseases. I think they had chlamydia and things like that. So
Do you not know? Shannon's
I
like,
have.
we'd nurse, you know,
I
we'd
didn't know
nurse
they got
them.
chlamydia.
Yeah, or, you know, look after them, put them in a compound and actually looked after them and fed them
Yeah.
fresh eucalyptus, and people would come and have a look at them.
Yeah.
But they were everywhere, and that's why we sort of work hard to protect the forests and the trees. But yeah, I just it's a great place to grow up and form an appreciation for nature, and I'm so grateful that I got to experience that because it was super surreal looking back on it.
Sounds like it. Then you moved back to the South Coast?
Yeah, I was about 13, 14, 15 when I moved back. I can't remember exactly, but over in Western Australia we had to go to primary school. You go up to year 7, then you start year 8 as your high school. And over here, so I did year 7, and I come back over here and I started in year 7 at high school. Okay. So I essentially did another year of school.
right.
That's probably why I was so unfocused by the time I got to year 12. I just wanted to surf. But it's come back over here and made some new friends, and you know, we lived on the coast and we had a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
My parents got different jobs, and instead of having the coast and no one around other than your siblings to engage with, made friends and learned what football was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I was just I guess when I say that, it's like my friends grew up playing football, and I played soccer.
You played soccer?
Played soccer, and played the guitar.
Were you outcast for that?
No, soccer was huge.
Oh, it is huge.
Football,
yeah.
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 So played that for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But I think I just wanted to go and surf.
Yeah.
Spend every day at the ocean, and during my school years, it was come to school, wet hair.
Yeah.
You know, and then the first thing I could think about was getting back down the water.
Yeah. So those teen years are traditionally very awkward years. Were you an awkward teenager?
Probably in my mind I was. I just, growing up in the bush, I guess in the bush, inverted commas, when exposed to computer games and things like that. And I come back, you know, when I was growing up and those things were introduced, a lot of my friends did play computer games, and they're amazing at it, and they're still playing them today. But I just, for some reason, I like playing them, but I think I just love the company more so than playing computer games.
Yeah, right.
And I wanted to, I wasn't ever hooked on them.
Did you ever
I wanted to be outside.
Did you ever play arcade games like Street Fighter 2?
Yes. Yeah.
How good's that game? You played it? Are
Yeah.
you too young for that?
I think it was Tekken and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And
Oh,
things
Mortal
like
Kombat, yeah. I spent a fortune on Street Fighter 2.
A fortune.
I did. I was like, Mum, can I have $1? Can I have $2? We used to compete against each other. We did a trip to Sydney once just to compete against the really good players in time zone.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, tangents.
That's
all
pretty
over the
cool. I think what we used to do was threaten to pull the plug on the back so you'd lose the high scores for the day.
That is brutal.
Yeah, that's a brutal move. Gamer move. Yeah, so your teen years, pretty rad, surfing a lot, going to school, wet hair, I love all that. So tell us about that first year out of high school. Like, I always ask people this because I just think it's one of the most challenging, interesting times in a human's life. You're released into the world, you're lost, you got dreams, or you might not have dreams, or you might not have any idea. So how would you describe it?
Say 50% of my friends, their goal was to go to uni. And for me, I didn't really have that in my sights. I didn't think couldn't afford it for starters, and I wasn't very academic. I could, if I put my mind to it, I could do it. I would have went all right at school, but I just wasn't for me. So getting out of school meant that I kind of lost a few of my friends to university, which is cool. I kind of felt a bit weird. I was going to have, some time out. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I got a casual job, working 3 days a week, and I was just surfing. I bought my first car, and I think I was bodyboarding at the time, so that was a big thing for me. I really wanted to make some ground in that.
Yeah, nice.
And it was kind of just taken off. This is 90, early 90s, mid 90s, and just I love bodyboarding, bit of skateboarding, but I didn't really have any sort of future goals. I was kind of felt a bit lost, and I was playing the guitar. I joined a couple of bands with my mates, and Yeah, well, I don't know. I've never been asked that question, so it's kind of
So
to
put you on the
think
spot.
back. No, it's great because I'm having to remember what I did, and at the time it was getting out, and you're 18, so the clubs are open to you in the pubs, and you've got a thirst for alcohol and partying. Unfortunately, my job was Thursday nights, Saturday nights, and Friday nights. I was working in a bottle shop. That was my first job.
Was it?
Yeah, so I'd turn up to work a little bit. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to smell was alcohol.
Yeah.
But
You
that's
turn
what I
up
did for a
hungover.
few years.
You turn up
I
hungover.
won't say that. Yeah, I did. But it was pretty good. Some of my mates were around at the time. We were playing music. But it was kind of 18 for me. It was a little bit sense of freedom. I had my driver's license, and I didn't have much money. So, it was the same cliche story. If your mates jump in the car, they all chip in $2 to drive to Mystics, get some petrol, and drive to Mystics or Shore Harbour or Cowries, Red Sands, and go and surf.
Yep.
And you just have enough left over for some chips and some scallops. And back then you could get a whole heap of chips for $5, and scallops and battered savs and things.
Battered savs. I still don't know what a battered sav is. Like, what is it? What is it? What is it?
It's
I don't even
disgusting.
need to
It's
know.
horrible. No.
No.
Yeah.
Not worth knowing.
It's not worth knowing. You sort of mentioned that, like, you wanted to chase the bodyboarding a little bit. Like, in what sense? Did you have, like, dreams to get sponsored, or did you want to compete?
I did.
Was that in your...
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a crew down at Warrilla and some Shore Harbour guys that we'd surf together and we compete with. And I think everyone aspired to just kind of grow and be better at what they did and represent their area in competitions and things like that. But I just wasn't hardcore enough. Like those guys that take off on big waves and get slammed, and that just wasn't for me. I'm happy just for the small to medium surf and
Slabs, though? Would you chase slabby waves?
not smaller ones.
Small.
Yeah, I'll never profess to be great bodyboarder or surfer, but there's a lot of helmet out there that I just look at. I never forget. We were up on Barrack Point one day, and it was about 8 foot closing out, storm swell, and no one in sight. And we were up on the cliff watching a young guy out there. He was tiny at the time, and he was out there just doing reverse airs out into the flats and closeouts on the reef break. No cameras, no one in the water, no one sort of to capture the moment or anything. He just did it for himself, and he still does those kind of things.
It's cool.
It is cool. And I really thought it's not about. That's when you think it's not about the stickers and the sponsors, and it's about just finding your part in the ocean.
Yeah. There's a bit of a reason why I like to ask that, because now, jumping forward to where you are now in life, do you feel like your life panned out how you envisioned when you were 18?
That's
Sorry.
another cool question.
I don't know if it's a good question.
You're
I don't
on fire,
want to
man.
stump you.
It's
I
really
don't
cool.
want to stump you. I'm not trying to bring you unstuck.
No, bring it
But
on,
I'd like to know. I mean, I'm curious.
That's a really cool question because I probably don't think about it enough. I never really had long-term goals.
And that's a good thing, I reckon.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. Like for some people, they rely on those long-term goals, and I just seem to float through life, just doing things. Like I'm not. I've got an empty resume, but I can do a few things.
Empty resume, come on.
Yeah, well, on paper, if I was to go for a job,
I wouldn't say you float because you're still motivated.
kind of
That's an
motivated,
interesting-
but it's I'm not driven by money. So, if you remove that aspect out of the drive to do something and do it well, the other stuff that stuff just seemed to get me by. Like I love making images and I like sharing visions and things, but it's become a business now, and that I guess that's I talk to a lot of photographers, and one of their dreams is to open a gallery or exhibit their work somewhere, and I'm super fortunate to be able to do that. But that inherently comes with risk and the job security. It falls on your shoulders. Going back to what you were saying about stress and anxiety. I'm not just going to work, clocking off, and coming home, and switching off and just enjoying my downtime. I don't really have that much downtime in my mind, anyway, so to speak.
Because you're constantly thinking about the business?
yeah, business, images, what I have to do, people I have to get back to.
Creative ideas,
moving forward, just, keeping up to date in my mind and keeping motivated. It's all the self-motivation is a tough one. And it's kind of like that roller coaster where creatives kind of need. It's a double-edged sword where you really, really, really amazing creatives have a kind of troubled. They have to go through these. They have to endure some sort of turbulence to get to what they're doing, and I think that's where the best work comes from. Those darker sort of heavier places. If I have a look around and I see what I'm looking at from what I've shared, it's not all sort of the brighter colours and the friendly scenes, but I seem to find a lot of solace in that.
Have you got a question?
No. I was literally just looking around the room and observing stuff like that. So, there is a lot of, and we've mentioned before, violence in the wave and in the ocean, but beauty in it too. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it, and you could probably interpret it a totally different way tomorrow or in someone else's eyes. But
yeah, and it leads into the question I had for you, Warren, is can you look at one of your images, say one of your marquee images like the one behind us, amazing. Can you remember the mind frame you were in that day when you took that photo?
Yeah.
For most of your images?
Probably all of them.
Get out, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a visual trigger for the feelings and emotions that you've kind of locked away. But I remember looking at each image, and I remember what time of day it was, and where I was, and how I felt at the time. And it's the same with music, and what those things evoke. So,
well, I'm having the same with the podcast. So, the other day, I was scrolling through the directory. Went way back to some of the earlier ones from a couple of years ago. And I remember, that episode, I remember what I had to do that day, what happened, prior to it, how I was feeling. It just all stirred up this history of memories of. So that's what inspired the question. Because I was I wonder if he has that, and you do. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I guess that's what the images and music are meant for, because they capture that and hopefully translate what that feeling at the time. For me, it's I know what I was feeling at the time, and it's open to interpretation, obviously. But yeah, literally, just I can tell you that there's an image here behind me on the wall. It was shot down the coast. It was it was a day where I was kind of getting a little bit close to the wave and just learning about myself and how my abilities in the water. And I come away with the photo, and it was pretty cool. I was really happy with the session, because everyone else down there is all frothing out and everyone's getting photos, and no one got injured, and it just all had a good time, and it was a really good vibe in the water. And I think that's really important to have. And when you associate that with a moment that you've captured, that's essentially what we do, I guess, to pursue those moments.
Yeah. I don't know. I keep looking at a lot of your images, and because I'm a surfer and I look at a lot of surf mags, I keep thinking, why isn't there a surfer in that shot? Have you resisted the temptation to shoot surfers? Is that a constant temptation? Because I know you have some images, but when you do have a surfer in the shot, it's quite abstract.
When I was taking photos for magazines, I learnt quickly that when someone's in that photo, it's about that person. So it's a very personal. It's you. The only way that, how do I put this? The people that are going to look at that photo and go, "This is a great photo," it's through the magazine, and it's for that person, and it's for that article. What I'm trying to convey with that. Now, when it comes to, I guess, art, if you put someone in that photo, then anybody that looks at that photo is just going to, it's not, you can't find that personal connection because there's another human being present. And if you can make out who they are or see their face, that's kind of what personalises the photo. Did I say that right? I can't.
No, it does.
There's a focus.
Yeah, but it's like...
But it makes it a personalised photo, because then it becomes a photo of Joe.
So documenting a moment like that is one thing, and if there's a surfer inside a barrel and you can see their face, then that's about that moment and that surfer and that wave. It's not necessarily what someone else would put on a wall, but it would look good at a magazine or a surf ad or something. But if you were to slow the shutter speed down and create more of an abstract feel for it and you can't recognise them, then that person can say, that's a surfing photo. That could be anybody. And I think that's the attraction that I find to any of those kind of images, is that if you can't recognise them and it's not blatantly obvious who it is, then that's what I like about that kind of art, I suppose.
Yeah, would you say it almost becomes less artistic and more of a sports photo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't
Or
know.
a document. You're
Document.
documenting someone riding a serious or whatever wave.
Yeah.
And at a pinnacle point. So it's less about art. It's more about, this is what happened.
Yeah,
This guy got here in that position
yeah.
and made it or didn't make it,
Yeah,
whatever.
because your eye would get drawn to the surfer. That's the subject. But then when I look at the image just directly behind you, Warren, sorry, it's that one where it's like a little mountain of water. They're coming to like a wedge.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, what's my mind get drawn to then now? Like, well, there's no surfer in it. Next thing I know, I'm looking at it, and the first thing that comes to my mind is like, oh, that's like a volcano of water, because it's like it's pushing up and it's like a little eruption at the top, and it's like, but it's water. You know, I don't know. Too deep.
No, that's exactly.
Don't laugh at
That's
me.
exactly what I do it for.
not laughing
That's
at
it.
you.
That's a water form. It's a magical.
It's a water form. Is that how you
two
describe
parts
it?
of energy coming together in liquid form and forming a peak. And that in itself is the character. Like, that's the portrait. It's a portrait of the ocean. So rather than just being inserting a human there, it's a recognisable face. You remove that element altogether, and you have just yourself and the image. What you're looking at, and how you interpret it. It's different for everyone, but that's the magic of. That's the magic of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It just all clicked in my head about exactly what you're trying to achieve. I felt like I truly understood it for a minute, but then I'm going to forget. I'll forget. I always forget.
That's why we take photos.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, like how do you when you document? Are you just like, how do you date everything? Have you got hard drives just full of images?
I'll tell you.
Is it a big job? Like, how does it work?
If I'm going to a place that I know that's the shot I want, then I'll focus on it. But most of the time I don't, and I'm not one of those kind of photographers or ocean photographers that study wave patterns and like weather patterns, see different swells coming in, because it's part of my daily routine. It was, I'll get back to it, but it's if I only went out shooting on those days and I studied the weather charts and everything, then I kind of feel as though I would only go out looking for those moments when you think they're going to happen. But if I find the best ones are you're just going out and in a almost routine-like fashion, just go in the water and just see what you can find. It doesn't have to be great weather. It can be overcast and moody.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfectly offshore and barreling. Just something, where there's just a bit of movement in the water or just something different.
Yeah.
But it's just getting out there, and it's therapy.
Therapy. Because you're by yourself?
Yeah, a lot of the time I am.
Yeah.
I love shooting with other people.
You do?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just seeing what other people get, different lenses and how they interpret and what they're looking at. We're looking at the same wave, and there are times where I could be shooting with 5 or 6 other guys in the water, and we all have different cameras and lenses, but we're all looking at the same thing, and we may be only within about 20 metres from each other, but everybody has a different take on it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too.
That would be interesting. Yeah. Like you mentioned that, you have a lot going on and you have created somewhat of a business combined with your passion. But I guess the question I want to ask you is, like, as time's gone on and your images have become more popular, how are you maintaining the passion for the photography, or is the original passion still there?
It's a very interesting question, because we all seem to burn out.
Do you ever
whatever
suffer?
we do.
Do you suffer? Do you get burnt out?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think we kind of have to, because if we don't have that creative energy renewed, you have to find it. Otherwise, you just become complacent. And I think I would just learn to hate what I'm doing. If it was just the mundane doing the same thing every day without trying to find something new, and whether it be stepping away from the water, from getting on the guitar, reading, doing something completely different, skateboarding, just clearing my mind, doing some exercise, running, doing laps. I found I become more productive and more creative when I was away from the water, doing other things. And then by the time I got back to it, I was looking at it differently. Right. It had a different energy. Yeah, but you turn that into a business, and it's a tricky one because you kind of have to manage an income from art. Yeah. And that's everybody's. It's every creative, whether a musician. That's what I did for years in the band. I was, booking gigs in the hope of making a few dollars to pay for the petrol to get home, to selling CDs and merchandise and things like that. And it's not easy. But you just, I don't know, there's something inside you just says, I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. Like you said earlier that you've never been motivated by money, and that you said you never really were someone that would make long-term plans. I mean, I really admire that, because when I was younger, I was really someone that thought that that's what you had to do. And it's taken me my whole life to realise that life doesn't care about your plans. Life will just change. And I look around, Warren, and would you say, and I hope this isn't too convoluted, this question, but would you say that by not planning too much and following your heart, that money and abundance comes as a product of that? Like, have you? Does that make sense? Have you achieved some abundance in terms of finances? And like, I'm not saying you're rich, but I don't know. Is that a shit question? Sorry. Help me. I'm struggling.
It's a tricky one. Like, yeah, do you feel you get enough from it? Being not just emotionally but
to run a business and be financial. Yeah. I guess what is rich to some people, and I think if I can sustain what I'm doing and just make enough to put aside and pay the bills, I also have to consider my wife, because she's my number one supporter, and it's what I do it for as well. I have to prove to her and myself that I can do this constantly. And the financial side of it comes in different ways. It's different times of the year. People they hold their money tight through crises like these, and when interest rates go up, and there's no security at them, whatever, and people sort of hold their money tighter. But I'm very fortunate to have, I guess, let's say, a product I can be purchased and shipped worldwide.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I'm not reliant on just having a brick and mortar walk-in store. I can sell my art to people around the world, and that comes with different seasons as well. So when it's cold over here, I sell prints of more sort of happy colours and blues and greens to a lot of people overseas. And when we're during lockdown, I found that the people weren't getting to the ocean and seeing the coast more. So they invested in prints that reminded of them and give them some sort of inspiration and hope to. But it's I
never thought of that, actually.
You know what? You have to. If this wasn't working, I'd have to get a job. When I say job, when you work for yourself for so long, it's hard to I don't consider what I do. It's not as employment. I turn up to the shop when I can, and when the light's great, I'm out there shooting, and I'm happy that people understand that I'm not always here. If I had a clone, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's something you would do anyway.
It's something I would do anyway. That's right.
Yeah, but then you can get money from it. I have a question as far as how do you put value, the amount of value on an image? Because as someone, people that are creative, whether they do music or art, they seem to struggle with that part of it. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, most people want it for free. Say businesses and stuff, and I'm sure you've had images that have gone to promote businesses.
Yeah.
So how do you have a process, I guess, to put a value on it?
Yeah, when I first started photography, I was happy just to make back what I paid to manufacture a print, because the print itself was the reward for someone who wanted to buy something from me. That was awesome, and it was enough at the time, and it was exciting. But then when you rely on it for an income, you then have to place value on your art. And how do you do that without, you've kind of got to go, okay, well, there's one side of me that's there's an ego, human ego, where you have to recognize and go, okay, well, a lot went into that photo, or those series of photos, or that style of that I've released. But you can't outprice yourself, because also too, we're sort of, I wouldn't survive if I just put exorbitant prices on my work.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't respect what I do enough if I didn't. This is a hard one to actually articulate without sounding like a wanker, because you have to value, you have to have sort of self-value, and you have to put that on. How do you put that on a picture? And when you can duplicate that picture, that's when it becomes a little bit tricky. So then when you're talking about like different levels of things, so I can release images that were, so if I travelled half around the world to swim with a whale, I find those images would probably have a little bit more value to me, because there's so much more gone into them.
Well, you need to be compensated.
Yes, in a way too, because I can't just drop what I'm doing and get back over there. So I can't just take those shots every day. So those images have a lot of value to me, as do all the images that I shoot. But I can go down to the beach and just shoot every day until something that I like comes up. So yeah, limited editions, the size of things are, there's different ways, I guess. But there's an industry standard, I suppose, and you're looking around, CDs back in the day were $30 each.
Yeah.
You can't go and sell, and then you started doing limited editions with vinyl, like different vinyls, and then books and things like that. So
I find it interesting you were explaining there's the process to get that image, and it's hard you can't put that on the bottom of an image. Like, I travelled this amount of Ks. I've also done this amount of hours to get to this level of photography to do that.
Exactly.
So that's where you yourself have to like balance that out. That's what I was trying to get, like, where is that process? And that's,
do you know what? I think the longer you do what you do, and I keep saying that a bit, but it's I've entered a few competitions in the past, and not just for the accolade of, it's hopefully receiving an award, but if you do, it's that kind of that peer recognition. So the people that I respect, if they find something in your work that you feel as though you're on the right path. Yeah. And those are the kind of things, little things here and there in your career, I get. And you know what? I've been doing this for 10 years, and I say that anything that you do, like, it's like an apprenticeship. You kind of do that for music. I find that with Australian bands back in the day, in the late 90s and 2000s, when we had to travel to play shows and get around and work hard, it was around 10 years before you started playing bigger shows and stadiums and things like that. And with photography...
Did you play stadiums?
I played one stadium.
Dude, sorry.
I was only it was like Wynn Stadium, but it was on the back of a truck.
It's a stadium. It's a stadium.
Yeah, it was a few thousand people.
It's a stadium. Keep going. God, I'm so bad at like getting people off track. Keep going.
That's great. That's great.
No, keep going.
Mr. Digress. Thought train's gone.
Fuck, sorry.
Boom, there it goes.
that's right. We're just talking about
No,
monetizing.
But we don't know about money.
Do you know,
No, we're not. We're definitely not.
Getting back to that, the value I get. I grew up when I won't say grow up. When I started in photography, I was looking at different people for inspiration. I was looking at a friend of mine who's now my framer, Brent Rasmussen. He's an amazing landscape photographer. Peter Lick. Oh God, there's lots of different photographers, Australian photographers and overseas photographers. I wanted to... Train of thought's gone. Did it again. You got me.
Shannon didn't even do anything.
I'm so disappointed in myself as a
We'll cut that bit out.
No, that's part of it.
No, but it's... Look, I do want to keep going in that train of thought with... I guess the reason... Like, look, when we talk about money with this stuff and valuing things, it does pique your interest, because we all want to find a balance of doing what we love and then sustaining a living out of it. And I think you've achieved that, and not many people can achieve it. What advice then would you give to a young starting photographer?
You know what? This is part of the answer.
No, I could've-
He's brought you back.
You brought me back.
yes,
But this-
I'm not a shit host.
It was a
Sorry for
segue there.
swearing. I'm gonna stop
So
swearing.
Getting back to it, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
we didn't have the Instagram thing. We didn't have the social media platforms that we do now. And what I'd sort of seen was in print or on TV or a documentary or visiting actual physical galleries. You couldn't just go online and flick through and just see some of the best images or videos you've ever seen at the touch of a screen. They didn't have that back then. So that's kind of like it values, but it also devalues art because I've become more desensitized to. I've seen some amazing things. I've seen some of the best images I've ever laid my eyes on Instagram. You know, great white sharks, gigantic sharks, and orcas, and the most incredible shots. You know that.
But then you just scroll by and they're gone. You look at it for 2 seconds and you never look at it again.
As a photographer, I can absorb that a little bit longer. Most people that's what it's designed for, and that's how they make money off it. But I just turn my phone off for a couple of minutes and just allow myself to go, because I hope that's what happens. You know, if someone does that for an image, yeah, I suppose so. But the problem with that, being exposed to such quality, is that you do become desensitized to quality, and an image that you would just look at and just your jaw would drop and go, "Holy cow! How did you even make this image?" After a while, you're scrolling past that stuff every day, and it's pretty sad. But going from that's that segue into getting into photography. Anyone that picks up a camera and says, "This is kind of what I want to do. I want to try it out," is just get outside and shoot everything. Walk around with the camera all day. You won't find what you're really good at unless you put in the hours doing just about everything. You know, I've shot weddings and done real estate photography and commercial events, and I found that sort of stuff was great for other people, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't challenging enough. Yeah, so let's say for anyone getting into it, just try it, get out there and just learn. But you got to do your time. You know, you've got to learn. You're not going to be successful overnight.
Yeah, and I think that's what maybe Instagram is sort of bred. I think people think they can be. You know, like, do you hate Instagram?
I have a torn relationship with Instagram.
Why? I'm going to put you on the spot here. Why do you have a torn relationship with Instagram?
Because I like to see the connection and the positivity that it can bring. There's some good things happening using the platforms for, you know, the environment and different causes around the world, and sharing people's ideas and all the positive things that could and should come out of a social media platform. But there's also the actual absolute terrible things that, you know, it's breeding anxiety, and it's the perception. It's not reality. The perception behind the scenes of what people go through, and you're only showing your best of you, and it's not real. And I'm kind of fortunate that I came from an era that I relied on. So I was making money off photography, going back to what your question was before social media. So I always say, if the internet was gone tomorrow, then I could still sustain a living, because my end goal has been print. I'm not reliant on a free platform to make money. And I can say to anybody that's going to start photography, is just don't rely on things that aren't yours or out of your control.
Digital.
Yeah, it's they're there to make money from you. You're not going to make a living off other people's things.
Ownership of it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You own it.
Don't rely on NFTs.
I haven't gone down that path yet. I'm sort of sussing that out. I'm probably miles, but by the time I suss it out, I can't. Huh?
Can you explain it to me? I still don't understand it.
I think it's called a non-fungible token.
I know that. Great. What does that mean?
I know some of your listeners are probably going to go, yeah, that's right so far.
Digital commodity?
Is it? It's like you own a digital
piece
representation of art.
Great. Can you show me?
Or something.
And I'll screenshot it, and then it's mine too.
It happens every day on everything.
That's what I mean. Like, that's what I just can't get my head around. Like,
are you a investor in crypto or anything like that?
I've dabbled with crypto, yeah.
Not a similar thing.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah. Except it's more tangible.
Now it is, yeah, but wasn't the idea of it, I guess, took a long time for people to wrap their head around.
Yeah.
Something virtual doesn't exist, but now you can pay.
Yeah.
You can use it now to pay for things. when it first came out, I didn't understand it properly, and I thought your money's stuck there, and that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, the question I keep asking about crypto, and I know crypto people are going to probably kill me for saying this, but I'm like, what is the commodity? Like, you know what I mean? Like, even when I invest in, let's say I invest in your gallery, the commodity is your images. So here you go, Warren. Like, here's some money. I'm buying shares in your gallery. Give me a kickback, you know, because you're selling them. But I'm like, with digital currency, I'm like, well, what's the commodity? Like, is it just a piece of code?
And that's the thing that's hard to get my head around.
Am I stupid? Tell me I'm stupid.
Does it have to have a commodity? Like, is it as
am I not
an actual tangible item? I don't know.
I know.
But there's so many. When it first came out, now there's hundreds and hundreds of.
Yeah.
I don't know. One day. Listen, man, how does it feel to have 211,000 followers on Instagram? That's that thing again, like chasing numbers. It's you know what it is. It's super humbling to know that there's a lot of people that like what I do. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. It is crazy.
I was blown away, but how I'm like, does it create like a bit of anxiety, like you're being watched by a lot of people? You know, I don't know.
Only when I turn my phone on.
Or the pressure to put things on there.
Yeah.
Certainly there certainly is, because of, you know, the dreaded word algorithm. If I'm not constantly posting, then people aren't seeing it, and the numbers aren't growing, and they're not seeing the numbers and this and that, and the graphs aren't good. But
you don't seem too worried.
I'm not phased about it, because the internet could die tomorrow, and you know, just like one of those platforms, they just can be cancelled, and you'll be going to the next one, and then you just have to go in and log in and try and get a username and then start again. But it's not. That's why I don't rely on it. But I love the fact that you can connect with so many people around the world. Yeah. That's the positive for me. That's the great thing. But I don't find it like it's not. Yeah, I don't boast about that. I think it's pretty.
I know you don't. And that's why I wanted to put you on the spot.
Thanks, man.
But what I love about it is that you have a beautiful thing that you're giving people, and I'm glad that there's success in that realm for that. Which is ironic, because you're very much in the print media side. You're in the print side of things, and I'd much rather see you have all those followers than some stupid page posting images of like drunk people doing stupid things, and they've got 1 million followers. I'm like, oh my God, that's so much friggin' influence, and what are they really advocating in the world? Like, just, you know what I mean? So anyway, I just thought I'd ask you about it. Sorry. To make you feel uncomfortable.
Not at all. Like, because back in the day when I first started with Instagram, we were all on the same playing field.
Yeah.
And I guess it's how much energy and time you invest in. It's like it's type of business, isn't it? So you've got a platform, you don't own it, you can't control it. You can only kind of guess what you're doing is right. But if you do those things, and you do have, you know, it does build up, and once you build up, you do get that lovely word exposure, and it is vital to a business. Exposure is incredible. It does work.
Did it really take off after winning awards, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, awards are really cool, because it's an organic way. I know you've entered and you've paid for your entry fee, and some really great things can come from it. But the media that rolls on from that is you can't buy. Like, you do get a lot of people visiting your store and things like this. So it's a really good flow on effect when you do. And it's one of those things you do hope that if you do place well, you know, there's a list of things that they do offer after that. But your work can be put in front of people's eyes that you would never normally reach. And that's the best thing about it.
It is good. It can be used for good, not evil. It can.
You know what? There's always going to be awards for things. So you've got music awards and Logies and TV and all those things, but they're pats on the back here and there, and if they happen, that's awesome. But I don't rely on them, and I don't look for the next competition or anything. I can't remember the last one I entered. But if you do, don't rely on it, because it can be. it's pretty it's pretty devastating when you've got one of your best works and you think this could be all right, you know, and you enter it and it doesn't even get a look in. So you don't take that as you don't, what's the word for it? You don't
like self.
That doesn't. Yeah, you don't use it for validation.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you're approaching it with the real sense of just like humility and, you know, no expectation.
The problem with photographic awards, there's so many now. When we first came out, there were probably 2 or 3 really sort of, I won't say they're not genuine, but they hold a level of prestige. They've been duplicated, and now there's one for every country and they've all got this, and they're just, some of them are just a money grab.
Yeah.
Entry fees are ridiculous, and
oh right, I didn't even think of that.
They're huge.
Like a money spinner, just off entry fees. Yeah, I didn't.
It's kind of like a lotto. Like if you hold an award or a lottery, they make some big coin off it.
Oh right, didn't know.
So
clueless, man.
There's something you can avoid.
Yeah.
Let's get away from awards.
Yeah, no. Well, look, I mean, it's part of your story.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think like I like what you said about how it helps you sort of gauge progression and maybe help you progress as well. So it's not so much about the award as a motivator to improve. Yeah.
Yep.
Improve your craft. Yeah.
Oh, I won't say I'm not proud of them, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hold a lot of those things dearly, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's also to see what else other people are doing as well. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
People that you respect and, you know, your peers, like you mentioned, you can see, oh, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know, the things that you can do with the camera and the perspectives you can find and the techniques that you can use to make imagery has progressed incredibly. It makes it harder and harder to make something new.
That's a peak. That's photography peaked. Like, I don't know, like so many amazing images, like in all the software programs now that help with editing. Where else can it go, man?
Yeah, I think people are sort of starting to blend reality with photography. I'm seeing more and more software companies offering replacement skies and blending images and multi-stacking and things like that. I'm just pretty basic. Like, just go out and take one frame. Got to be in the ocean in the moment.
Gotcha.
That's a cool thing, but I'm not going to take away the artistic value of those other things. It's just kind of not for me.
Gotcha.
But they do promote, and you are seeing a lot of things on social media platforms that you do have to question if they're real or not. Like I've seen, and it's distorting reality. There's a lot of photos going around where they'll have like a burning bright moon over the ocean with the golden trickles and reflections on the water, but there are clouds behind the moon, and it's for a photographer. It's it's just Photoshop. It's not important. It's completely impossible to. The moon's on the other side of the atmosphere. It's out in space, so it's people don't see it. There's a lot of people that thousands of comments on posts. This is beautiful. I'd love to see this,
and you're just like, no, it's fake. Oh, it's superimposed.
Yeah,
man.
So how far does it go? Like that brings me back to ocean photography, because when I'm photographing a whale or a shark or a turtle, that's the moment, that's the thing. And water is never the same. So it forms, there's energy in there if you're in there with it and you manage to capture it at a certain angle or whatever. You're capturing it, and it's not really, it's a pretty unique moment.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. Connect with the animal as well, I reckon. It'd be so good.
Oh, mate, looking into the eye of a shark.
Yeah, dude.
Or a whale.
Did you see I reposted one of your shark photos on my Instagram today?
Thank you. I did.
Massive following. It'd probably make your account look small, but anyway, we won't talk about that.
no, thanks, mate. That's cool. Yeah.
But I reposted it, that one of the shark, the great white. Like, can you tell us the backstory behind that image? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
It's white light.
White light. The focus, you actually called it white light, so you weren't even talking about the shark. I read the post. Well, you did talk about the shark a little bit, but you were just talking about how the white light coming behind the shark. It just looked amazing, dude.
Kind of both, because the shark is a great white, so it's the white with the light.
Gotcha. Yep.
And that's a female. She's about 5.5 meters in length, and it's an incredible moment. That was taken down in Port Lincoln in South Australia, the Neptune Islands.
Oh, yeah.
the sharks come in and they do their thing, and it's a place where they stop and they feed on fur seals.
Right.
Yeah, so
But
it's a natural thing for them to do. So that moment was pretty surreal. So I'm dangling in a cage about 10 or 15 metres away from the boat, and looking out of these gaps in a small cage. The cage is only 1.5 by 1.5 metres, and the shark's just appearing out of just materialising out of the blue, and just the light coming down, and it doesn't feel real. It feels like you're in a movie. And I've got a camera and I'm just looking through, and this is crazy,
Were you like looking through the viewfinder and then just like...
Bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both. You have your other eye there for some peripheral vision, because what you're looking through the lens isn't actually how far away you are to the object. And with a shark, you've got to be you've got to suss it out. It's they can be pretty playful at times and get pretty close. Mm-hmm. So, but that photo is just this really sort of eerie, quiet, but beautiful moment. It's an incredible creature. There's this vast blue water with the light coming through. So it's one of my favourites. It's a cool shot. Mm.
Have you ever seen that movie? What's the one with Ben Stiller?
Oh, you're bringing up Walter Mitty.
Walter Mitty.
I know what you're about to...
Is it Walter Mitty?
Yes.
You don't know. You think you know me, Ryan.
And Sean Penn.
And Sean Penn. Okay, there's an image at the end. So Sean Penn is this like mystical photographer guy. Don't laugh at me, Ryan.
No, sorry.
No, laugh at me. Laugh at me.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, look, and basically he didn't want to... Look, it's a fun movie, but he didn't want to take an image... Like he was trying to capture an image of this really rare animal. Then he finally sees this rare animal after, hiding out for months, and then it comes, and then he didn't take the photo because he wanted to absorb the moment. Come on, man. Have you had those moments where you're like, I'm missing the moment because I'm too much behind the viewfinder?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do? Like, there's the times when you're like, I'm going to have one of those Sean Penn moments. Ryan has it with me skateboarding all the time. I'll go skate. I'm like, Ryan, shoot this photo of me.
Did you get it? No, I just saw it through the view. Yeah.
And the trick's so sick. Ryan's like, I can't shoot that. I just
lived it.
It's too beautiful.
It's too good.
It's in my brain.
Click in your mind.
Thanks, Ryan.
That thing's pretty cool. I guess it was the story behind that, and how they made that movie was so good. Like it's up there with one of the best movies. I watched it over in Tonga after we went out with the whales, and we were on a massive high, and then we all sat in a group and watched it on the big screen in our little sort of where we were staying.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. It was crazy because we were all just experienced that a magical moment through the day of swimming with whales.
Yeah.
And there was a group of about 12 of us, and we all sort of getting to know each other, and to relive that and watch what he was doing, you get it. But also, I want to, I'm out there to make some photos. I didn't spend so much money and time and risk travelling and all my gear and everything So you do bank a few photos. You get your photos out of the road, and then you do spend some time just with your own eyes, and not even with a camera in hand. Yeah. You have to do that all the time. You have to, because if you have a camera in your hand all the time, years and years and years of doing that, you could start to forget the reason why you picked up the camera in the first place, and it was just being mesmerised by the ocean. If you're just continually looking through a viewfinder which is smaller than an Instagram square, you're not seeing those moments for what they really are. There's a huge message in that film,
and you're also looking for it. You're looking for something all the time. It's like I said, through a small window instead of just experiencing it. And, it does happen.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I have to come and watch you skate. It sounds like it's pretty cool.
It's a beautiful experience. If you like to watch a middle-aged man constantly falling on the ground, hurting himself.
That's just me normally.
Holding his back, going, my back, arm and knees. Although my knees have been good, man. I've been doing the knees over toe guy exercises.
Cool.
Have you heard about that guy? Knees over toes guy?
Once you've started talking about it, I have.
So this is really crazy. I caught up with a friend, a really dear friend I haven't seen for ages, and he's been getting into stretching, and he swims as well. And he did it for me the other day. He just said there's a thing where you literally eventually get your palm on the flat ground in front of your feet.
Yeah, man.
And you walk out and back, and it sounds like it hurts to do.
Scary. Well, it's scary at first, like the techniques of like bending with your knee over your toes. I kept thinking my knee was going to dislocate because I've always been told not to put your knees over your toes. But you got to do it in a controlled way. But, you know, at our age, you need those strong knees.
Also need to stretch.
Do you stretch?
Yes.
Is that why you're so good at slappies?
That's a stretch.
See,
I just want to be able to function.
Yeah.
You stretch.
it's so nice to be surrounded by these award-winning people, like, you know, your awards, your Slappy Award. You know, I'm just surrounded by people who win awards, you know.
I'm gonna get on my skateboard now. I'm gonna try it. I just want to see.
Yeah.
I can do
it. More the merrier.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, it's always fun.
It is
Learn
fun.
something new. You should shoot some skating too. We've talked about this heaps of times.
We have.
It would
I'd
be
love to come
interesting.
down and shoot either of you guys. It'd be really cool.
I wonder how you'd approach it.
That's what I want to know.
Because I always think that, no, you have to be a skateboarder to take good skate photos.
No way.
I have actually asked to do that in the past with a few other friends, and I thought it's like shooting bands. It's just I'd feel sort of foreign, and it's not my thing. But I'd have to do it in my own way, whether it was abstract or something, or if it was like 200 mil lying down and just get something really grungy or arty or something.
Yeah.
Because there's, for every genre of everything, there's always if you're a skater and you're a photographer, you've probably spent your life skating.
Yeah.
So you know what you want to see, and you know what. But it's awesome to get like someone with fresh eyes who's hasn't seen what you can do. Just go take a photo. That's a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, and for sure. And like, you seem like someone who's constantly reinvented yourself, you know, from your music days and stuff you did in between. I think you said you were into some, you're a journalist, photographer,
Yep.
things like that. And then you got into this photography. Like, I mean, how important do you think it is to reinvent yourself? Like, or why do we even need to?
If you can do it organically and not try to push super hard to do something, I think if it comes to sort of more naturally than not.
Yeah.
But you have to. I think you have to. Because I get sick of myself, and I get sick of looking at my own images sometimes, because if I'm not evolving, then I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, and if I'm not progressing, then I don't really see a future in what I'm doing either. So if I can go from making imagery to then using that imagery to shed a light on environmental issues, and then I can advocate awareness through imagery, then that's kind of another side that I'd pursue, and it'd have a purpose. So if we can find purpose in those different fields, and then that I can come back to the abstract stuff, the stuff that I kind of like or what drives me. But going and shooting here's the other thing too, is like pigeonholing yourself is something that's very tricky to navigate. I mean, in any art, because I love all the musicians that I love because of what they do. But if they were to like a progressive metal band just goes and throws out a country song, it's a bit it's hard to swallow. So, but if you're
done right, it's cool.
If you're done, for sure, and it's I don't think you should pigeonholing yourself is especially in art, because I don't think you can grow. It's a tricky one. Like, there are a few artists that can go out and shoot anything, and I love what they do. And there are artists there that just have a really sort of niche, and I love that as well.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, you definitely have found a niche. Like, you could easily fall into being pigeonholed. Like, you're the oceanographer guy. You're the shore break guy. You're the guy that's hanging out in shore. I mean, I've seen you hanging out in the shore break at South Beach with your camera. Hours getting smashed in the shorey. But you're very cognizant of the fact that you don't want to be pigeonholed and you want to progress. It sounds like you're addicted to progression. Would that be right?
Yes.
That's right.
And that's what the music does for me.
Yeah.
So progressive music, whether it's time signatures, lyrics, how they overlay music, how long the songs are. Progressive rock sort of does it for me, because it's like allows you to think, and it pushes the more limits. It's like Pink Floyd when they first started making music. You didn't know where you're going with each song, and every song could be 5 minutes long or 20 minutes long. Yeah. and it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it evoked something. You're always constantly listening for some sort of change, and you're not the 3-minute radio band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's why I think I do have a common theme, and it's water.
It's water.
So that's like allows me enough of a range to include inhabitants. I can document water and waves and do landscapes and things. As long as it's good, it's attached to water. But I love to go and shoot some skateboarding just to see what I can do, and not for the sake of anything.
Yeah, there's not the expectation that it has to go somewhere or whatever. It's just purely just to. And you can get inspiration by doing other stuff, like starting back to the start of the podcast, like removing yourself from what you do every day, but you're still using the camera, and then you go, that got me psyched to do this differently.
Yeah, the camera for me is just a tool. It's just a paintbrush.
Gotcha.
It just happened to be a digital paintbrush that you can do some cool things with. Once you start introducing people, that's where you have a human side come into it as well. So with weddings, that's why the wedding photographers are amazing at what they do. They love that environment. They can move people around and do. It's not for me. I just leave it.
It's a better business model, maybe. Consistent business model as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's that combination. So I just think in Australia we have this tall poppy syndrome. Like people are embarrassed to go, yeah, I want to earn money. And then you got to be all cool about it. It's like, well, no, like I've got to be pragmatic as well. Like, and yeah, I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not going to bust my ass for no reward. Like, and I've got to live and I've got to support my family and my wife and whatever. So there's nothing to be ashamed about there. But I see it, especially after interviewing people from other countries. Okay, and I will be open. Like when I speak to people from the USA. They've got no qualms about going, yeah, man, I want to do this, and I've got big ideas, and I'm gonna be the best at this, and I was like, good on you, like it's that and then they like you can manifest it maybe.
I don't know what that is. I experienced that when I first started playing music, and everyone was quick to judge you, and they write you off for, you're like too far influenced, or what you're wearing on stage, and you jump around the wrong way, or just those kind of things. Australians, it's an inbuilt thing, isn't it? I don't know what it is, but in America, I've noticed that exact opposite. They seem to get behind people that want to do well. Yeah. It's awesome,
and they're confident in talking about it. It's just like, wow, yeah, they're confident. They go, yeah, good for you, like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
I think you just got to push past that. It is a cultural thing, and it's playing music in bands. I'd go to Sydney, and then the next night in Newcastle, next night Canberra. Playing 4 different places in a week, and just paying enough to pay for petrol. But you're joining other bands and like-minded people. But as soon as one person breaks out and there's a song on the radio, it gets picked up, and you get some sort of success out of it. And the whispers and this and that. We did this first, and that's. But it happens with everything, doesn't it?
It does.
Politics, Yeah,
and those people should get behind them and, hold them up and say, someone broke out of the scene and someone's doing really well. Because that can also, the Seattle thing, 1 or 2 bands make it and now puts it on the map, and everybody likes it or not, but they kind of associate all of those
someone
bands
thrives, everyone else thrives.
I agree.
Especially in that realm of art, and and you don't own it. No one owns that.
No one owns anything.
No. So you can get behind it and can build a scene or, a culture.
Yes.
Yeah. You can go from there.
I'm all for it. There's that applies to coffee shops, restaurants. People that say, just because there's 6 coffee shops in town, do you go and open another one somewhere and try and make a different spin on it? If that's your dream, to become a barista and make coffee, do you not do it because there's too many people doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's same with photography. There's a lot of photography.
But if you're feeling it in your heart, you got to do it. And I listened to a podcast because I put everything into skateboarding context. Like there's this pro skater, Steve Caballero. You probably heard of him. In his podcast, he was talking about how when the Bones Brigade first became popular, everyone was really focused on Tony Hawk, and Tony was making more money. And he said he was really, and like this was his good friend, resenting him for it, hating him for it. And his quote was, and I goes, and years later, like I didn't realise that I was benefiting off his success as well, but all I could see was that he was getting the spotlight. And he goes, and I apologised to him years later. And he said, and his quote is the best quote. He goes, "We should always celebrate the success of others." And he goes, "That's how I live my life now. And when I do that, I seem to succeed more." It's this weird, like, paradox.
And you find you're more happier in what you're doing because you're supporting others.
Yeah, man.
And not being, just don't have spite, just removing that jealousy or that, I don't know, looking at...
Because it takes up a lot of energy being like that. Being negative or, spiteful and stuff like that. Whereas...
I'm exhausted. Yeah.
But I teach photography on the side. I've got another business.
I do as well. Oh, that's right. I knew that. You are busy.
So that's one of the other photographer is Russell Ord, and if you haven't seen his work, you've got to see his work. It's just mental. Great guy, great photography. True with what he's doing. It's incredible. But I get to work with him, and we teach ocean photography. And people do ask, why do you give away this? Why do you give away what you... This is the things that I've learned, and I've made what, this is the thing that I do. Why would you give that away? And it's a key, and it's important to share that, because I'm just a vessel for thoughts and ideas, and if you can pass that on to somebody else, the feeling you get from teaching somebody something and they make it their own, just a simple technique, and you look at the back of the camera and they say, "Geez, I made this. This is really cool." But that's super rewarding for me personally, and I think that I'm past that stage. I don't look at it and go, "Well, I can't give that away because it's a secret." Somebody taught me that, or there's somebody else doing the same thing. Nothing's original,
But it's never going to be like yours. It's
right.
always going to be different.
Yeah.
No matter, you could tell them the exact same thing. And I've had that, I'll be honest, with the podcast. I've had numerous people now ask me what equipment I use and how you do this and how you do that. And at first I was like, "Oh, I'm telling you, you'll start a podcast and it'll be better than..." Like, you know what I mean? I got like that. And I was like, nah. So now when people ask me, I tell them exactly whatever they want to know.
They still have to do it, though. That's the thing. You can give someone a camera. I used to say, skateboarding, let's say that. You can show them how to do something. You can give them a personal tuition and how to do a trick. You give them the best skateboard, best shoes, best environment, and give them all the confidence in the world. And you show them exactly how you do it. But they've still got to go and do it.
Yeah.
Trial and error. They have to literally go and try.
Yeah.
I didn't have...
It's like slappies.
There wasn't, now there's a lot of ocean photographers around now, and it's quite popular. What that platform and that genre of photography. But when I started, there was probably only 2 or 3 people on the South Coast, and they're all shooting for magazines or something. So I couldn't just... There were no platforms, there were no blogs, there was no internet. I couldn't look and ask questions. So it was a lot of trial and error. And now that, because I don't have kids, it's nice to impart that knowledge and see other people finding happiness and being creative through it. And then that's the value that I get out of photography as well is showing something to somebody, and then they can go and do
skill.
it.
You're putting on a skill to someone else. It's probably a poor way to put it, but
yeah. Well, you're just spreading the love, man. And like you said, it just makes you feel good inside. And I think it's also the key to longevity. Otherwise, you become a very lonely human. Maybe.
Yeah.
People don't want to know you. You just become that grumpy guy that just holding his... Like, you can't... we're all going to pass away one day. And you can't take your photos with you, bro. You know what I mean? You can't take your ideas. You got to share it along. I don't know. We're too competitive in our world these days, humans.
And I get that too with just listening to your podcasts.
Thanks, man.
You have a way of not prodding, but the questions you ask people and how they answer. I mean, it's really cool to just listen to. You've quite the honesty side of the value that I get from listening to your podcast. Thanks, is just immense honesty, and I think that we're in shortage of that around the world.
You think people are craving it more than ever?
Right now? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
We have lack of guidance and leadership and honesty and truth. You know, it's even if it there's I don't know where it's going, but and I'm grateful for things like this as well. Like I'm grateful just to be on your show.
Thank you.
It's a privilege. I know you've done a lot of them, so it was kind of felt like I had to live up to
Dude,
something.
No, not at all, man. Like it's my pleasure, you know. And it's just going back to what you're saying. Like if I can ask you one question, I don't want to talk about me or the podcast too much, but you know, when you listen to someone being raw and honest about their lived experience, how's it making you feel? Do you mind telling us? Is it making...
It makes me feel better about myself. Some of the interviews I've heard from you, and you're asking about honest truths about how they derive an income, or is it hard? Is it hard to do what you do? And then when the answer is yes, and they divulge that information, and it's so important because that's the perception is... You can't just get on and just talk about all the good stuff and the things that are happening that's making you successful. You get on and talk about the hardships and the shit fight that you go through mentally and physically every day, and the lack of sleep and everything that goes along with it, because that's what I endure. That's the stuff I want to hear because it's real. That's the most important thing.
Do you feel less isolated in it? Because I know that's what it does.
Completely.
Yeah.
With having Infinity, you feel like, this guy's going through the same thing, and he's up there. He's been doing this for 20 years and he's so successful, traveling around the world in front of thousands of people, maybe a musician or an artist or something. And I think you just don't know what they're going through every day. And when you find out, when you ask those questions and the answers are, I had a shit day, you know, and I'm going through anxiety and things like that. That means it sort of brings you feel more connected to others, you know. Yeah,
that's what I think. I think I see a lot of people who just feel disconnected, you know, like from everything, even from their families, you know, aside from COVID, when they're working 9 to 5 jobs for long hours, you know, and seeing their family for a few hours every evening, you know, or their loved ones, you know, that's really isolating, you know. And I think we're at this stage in our society and in our world where we have these means of communication. There's no reason for it anymore, you know. We have these platforms, just, you know, whether it's, you know, amazing photography that can be on display that inspires people, whether it's podcasts, whether it's whatever. So, anyway. But listen, man, I don't want to rant too much. It's been epic. And I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. So have you got something for us today?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm an ambassador for, the ocean itself and the environment. Yes. But in Australia, Take 3 for the Sea is one of the core things that I back, because it's such a simple idea, as you know, through, you know, your past interview. And it's a simple idea of taking 3 items or more from the beach when you visit, or the coast. And you can do that anywhere, really. But at that lower level, it gets you thinking about what's in your house, and am I using plastics, and am I doing something that I could be putting that in the bin instead of doing that, or recycling, or picking up, just something like that. But it does turn the cogs in your mind, and you start thinking about the environment, the big picture. And the other one globally for me is One Blue Ocean. It's a collective of creatives that all have common themes, their love for the ocean, and whether it's art or photography or video or whatever, music. But it's something that's associated with the ocean, because it connects us all. You know, it's one of the most important things that we have. It's life, really. So, yeah, One Blue Ocean is the other one. So if you get a chance...
Epic. So if you scroll down on this episode, you'll find links to those initiatives, especially Take 3 for the Sea. You can go onto their website. You can donate to the cause, because they do an amazing amount of projects, but also there's opportunities to participate in beach cleanup days and other events. And I'm all about, we can donate money, but I think when you get actually involved and donate your time and energy, that's where the real value is, and also builds community, but it also builds your self-esteem. And so that's what I'm going to advocate again for, maybe volunteering for Habitat Humanity Australia. If you go to their website as well, there'll be a link to that. and find out how you can get involved. And you'll actually have fun doing it. So, yeah, get on it. Now, listen, bro, I've got a little present for you. It's in this bag. You get a THT T-shirt.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cool.
So thanks for being on the show. It's just a very, very small token
Thanks, Legend. That's
of my
awesome.
appreciation.
Thank you very much.
And some THT stickers, which I think you said you're going to be a legend and leave them in your gallery for people to come and
You
grab
betcha.
a few. So thank you, sir. And I think that's about it, man. Is there anything you want to like sort of end on? Like, what would you like to? What would you say to, I don't know. What do you want to end on? Do you want to tell us some sort of? Oh shit! I can't speak, Ryan. Help me with the question, Ryan. You're here to help me with the questions. I know. The only thing you want to finish up?
Any parting words?
Oh, that's the phrase I was looking for.
Oh, look at the elbow. That was terrible.
Sorry, Ryan. I got kick up.
Keep smiling.
Keep smiling. You are a smiler, dude.
I think there's some good things happening in the years to come. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think there's some pretty cool things happening in the background, and just got to keep sort of the spirit of what you're doing and why you do it. Because I've learned myself that, and you kind of lose that sight of what you're sort of doing, and start to feel a bit down and then out. But
with the pandemic, especially.
Yeah, it was associated with that too. Yeah, it's been a bit of a low cloud, isn't it, for everybody? Yeah. But I think there's some good things coming.
Yeah.
Got to hope there's some good things coming.
Nah, thank you, man.
Cheers,
good
guys.
to hear that. Mr. Warren Keelan, everybody. Yep.